Hey everyone, I have a video request from the YouTube channel talking about HIV, how to break down those fears, but so we can make it more than just HIV. We'll cover all sorts of different illnesses, right? But we'll focus on HIV as well in the video. We'll talk about Parkinson's, we'll talk about ALS, neurodegenerative disorders, we'll talk about cancers, we'll talk about aneurysms, heart attacks, all that stuff. So basically, the whole gamut of health, OCD, and diseases and stuff like that. Before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below. Let me know what you think about this. You don't just have to have OCD or health anxiety. Most people have very irrational beliefs about being sick. I'm going to talk about why none of this really bothers me. I'm a great person to talk to about this. I had a seizure 5 weeks ago now, sitting right here on the one-to-one, my third one in my life. It's been 6 years since my last one. I felt it building. They think they're caffeine induced. Who would have thought? I love my caffeine. Since the seizure, I've only had one caffeine source a day. Sad face, but it was needed. I had viral encephalitis and meningitis when I was 13. I almost died. I had a very small percentage of living. My dad had to fly out and see me in France. I was with family, friends. So, I mean, imagine that, right? Hey, Mr. Pinella, you have to come to France. Your son's dying. My dad's like, so, yeah, it was crazy. So they think I have, whatever sort of synapse issues, and caffeine just affects me a lot. Plus, with the mixture of the ADHD, it's good that I went down to this. But I'm not scared of that, right? My wife came up to me. I was having dinner 2 weeks ago, and I was watching, I think, Hunger Games, and she goes, by the way, because she's been telling me to decrease my caffeine for years, she goes, by the way, a friend of mine's friend's wife died of a caffeine seizure. And I was like, can I go back to watching Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games? She's like, you're unbelievable. Because, I mean, I take care of myself. I cut the caffeine, but I'm not going to worry about that outside of the normal side of it. So, and then Phil at OCDrecovery.com, we can go from there. Okay. So whether it's HIV, I'm going to have a couple different things pulled up. So we're going to go, and this is not something I need you to do unless this is an exposure. If you're so scared, like, it's either two ways. You're either Googling, which has to go all the time to check symptoms, or you're not looking at anything at all because you're so scared it could be true. I can only figure that out on a one-to-one call. That way I could see what's going on with you. Okay, so let's go, we'll say Parkinson's stats. We'll pull that one up as well. We'll pull up, what's another one that people have? We'll go, schizophrenia. We'll go schizophrenia stats. So, that's a big, 24 million people worldwide. That's a good amount for schizophrenia. I mean, it's not like a low amount. And 24 million people is a lot of people. So, okay. So first things first is, in order to work on all of these fears, you have to start accepting that life isn't fair, which is not how you thought I would start this video. So accepting that you're going to die and that life isn't fair is an integral part of breaking all of these down from a top belief system. There's also a piece of morality as well. What if I have HIV and then I have sex with someone and give it to them? So there is that. I'm not going to be able to cover every angle, but I'll probably make multiple videos of this over the next couple of weeks so I can cover different aspects. But we're going to start with just an overall basic background. So you will have to cover the morality part. Second of all, like Parkinson's, ALS, neurodegenerative disorders, dementia, temporal lobe dementia, unfortunately with Wendy Williams, all that stuff, seeing those photos, your life is going to be extremely difficult. There's no other way to say it. I had a friend of mine, he had a very, very rare disease, which there's less than 300 or 400 in the country, called spinocerebellar ataxia. And there's 13. He had SCA6, which destroyed his cerebellum and his motor function, but left this okay. His higher cognitive function until he passes away. He's a great guy. And it was very tough being around him. We'd have great conversations. But your life would be very tough, and your life doesn't need to go the way that you need to. You can cover that in a compassionate and empathetic way, but it's important to state that. Now, no amount of proving your way out of the statistics is going to work long term. So let's say you list schizophrenia and you say 24 million people worldwide have this. It's super rare, okay? That's not going to be enough. And it's going to feel as real as it can get. Feel like you're losing control, feel like you're about to go crazy, having delusions, having images in your mind. And if you have HIV, all the symptoms that come with that. So let's go, we'll go HIV symptoms. Again, so fever, muscle pains, headaches, sore throat, night sweats, swollen lymph nodes, diarrhea. Just so you know, this fear pattern, when it's in full effect, you can have all of these. You could have sore throat, you could have swollen glands, you could have diarrhea. I mean, when I had really bad fears about IBS and stomach problems, my stomach was so fucked up, I was convinced I had every single allergy under the sun. So you are going to have to sit with the uncertainty of this and remember that OCD is the master mimicker. So again, let's start with, if you're Googling and researching these symptoms a lot, that has to go. No Googling, no researching at all, no matter what. If you're not, then but even though the Googlers, they still won't watch documentaries. So they're like, you can go on YouTube and type in, let's go on YouTube and type in HIV documentary. And let's see what comes up, The Plague of Our Lifetime, Dallas Buyers Club scene, you tested positive for HIV. Why do they always make Matthew? It's like when they get a hold of Matthew McConaughey, they're like, hey, we need you to do a movie, but you have to look like you just did 25 lines of meth. Like True Detective, like he's always like Interstellar when he's like really skinny. So he's great at filling those. Okay, this is Stephen Fry, HIV and Me, AIDS in Houston. So there's a lot of different things that you can watch. My HIV Story, Inside America's HIV Epicenter, etc. So there's things that you could do, but no Googling, no researching, exposing yourself to what could happen when you watch this, going about your day as best as you can. You're not combating this in the moment. This is made to trigger you and go about your day. Now, the schizophrenia ones are always, I tell people to type in Chris, schizophrenia, white underbelly, and these videos will come up. These ones right here, these are all very, very, very tough interviews. This one is very unique. I mean, they're all just very, very difficult to watch, and shows you. This whole channel, by the way, Soft White Underbelly, is just a great channel for gratitude and perspectives, and there's a lot of triggers on here and stuff like that as well. So it's a good place to find this stuff. Now, again, your symptoms are more than likely going to feel as real as they can be as you transition throughout the recovery process of breaking down the worst case scenarios and realizing it's not the end of the world. So let's go through one of the disputing sheets, okay? The one I like to use, 7071. For so many years, it was 9697, but this is just laid out a little bit better. So goal, we'll stick with HIV in this example. My goal is to accept the possibility that I could have HIV or I could get HIV, and even if I did, it wouldn't ruin my life. Okay, activating events. That could be intercourse, being around people with blood issues, working in a hospital. There's a million different activating events. If you're a paramedic, a doctor, a nurse, if you're having lots of sex, if you're promiscuous, there's nothing wrong with any of those things. They're not inherently good or bad, no matter what anyone tells you. If you choose to live a lifestyle where you want to go out and sleep with 1,000 people and that's your goal, that's a goal. I'm not saying that goal is going to produce the best outcomes per se in different ways, but it is a goal. Depending on where you live in the belief systems and religion and stuff like that, people will have varying views on that, of course, according to where you live. So your irrational belief is, no matter what, I must not get HIV. If I do get HIV, my life is over and I can't stand it. Getting HIV would mean I'm a worthless, incompetent person. I should have used protection. How dare I do this? And then remember, you could go into no matter what, if I have HIV, there's no way I could ever be around another partner again. There's no way, I can't risk it, etc., etc. And the consequences of that is you feel depressed, worthless, your life is ruined, you're avoiding going and doing all the things where HIV could be spread or prevalent. So, and then you go through some of these belief systems, right? So let's go disputing. Why must I never get HIV? Where is the evidence that I should be immune to never getting it? Well, there is no reason why I must never get HIV, Parkinson's, schizophrenia, etc. But there are several reasons why I prefer not to. No evidence exists that I must never have HIV. If the universe ruled that I should never have it, I obviously would never have a risk of getting it. But it doesn't, and too bad. So a lot of times people with Ellis, they get a little put off because we want the coddling. We want the rainbows and butterflies. And most YouTube channels on anything in mental health have swung. Like I said, we've teeter-tottered, right? We went teeter-totter to don't be a bitch, do it. Still a lot of people out there like that. To everything is okay, nothing's a problem, you can achieve everything you want. Like I was listening to Tony Robbins this morning, who I really like, on my way to the gym, and he was saying stuff. There's no wonder why people love these seminars, right? You could do anything you want if you put your mind to it. Absolutely fucking not. You're not going to do everything you want. You can't dunk a basketball. You're probably not going to make $5 million in your life. You're probably not going to sleep with 100 different people. You might not be the most good-looking person ever. You're probably going to mess up with your finances. That doesn't mean you can't make progress and change your life, but this idea of talking to people in this universal law of attraction way is so terrible for the human species, and it's so unfortunate that we do that. You can do that and have compassion and empathy, but we always want to hear what we want to hear, right? And yes, we are going to naturally have assurance in our lives, but one of the most important things about life is highlighting the realities of life, which is if you have sex, there's always a possibility for HIV. If you're engaging in homosexual activities, there's an opportunity to have AIDS. You can get AIDS in other ways as well, and heterosexual, but I'm saying from intravenous needles and other things, but these are things I deal with. I work with homosexual men, and that we talk about these things. Highlighting the realities is so important for life in general. This isn't a political or religious debate. It's about what the realities of life are, okay? If you smoke marijuana and you have the gene inside of you, that can trip schizophrenic psychosis and you could stay schizophrenic for the rest of your life. Okay, that's what Chris is, the first guy right here. No history from him. He smoked marijuana, had a bad trip. Schizophrenic, I believe, for 10 years at that point. In and out of the hospital, delusions, set the house on fire. These things happen. I'm not saying you should smoke marijuana to test it. I'm just giving you the examples of what happens. So anything you do in your life will carry risks. Parkinson's, right? Let's go back. The SAA6, spinocerebellar ataxia, just because he had it, his daughter had a 50-50 chance. 50%. That's a what? Because it doesn't hit. SCA6 doesn't hit until your 40s. And once it hits, your life goes like this. It's like a domino. It falls over. And it's a simple test. You go get the gene, and then you see. And she doesn't want to get the gene tested. So that was her choice. And you don't have to do, there's no rules to any of this stuff. So would your life be extremely difficult with Parkinson's or a neurodegenerative? Yes, it's going to be very tough. I just read Michael J. Fox's book that came out like 10 or 15 years ago. Very tough life. I think his condition is so much worse today than it was in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and stuff like that. OCD recovery is no different. I mean, yeah, there's all sorts of different fears that interwork with either HIV or schizophrenia or Parkinson's or a heart attack and stuff like that. Each one has their own severe cons, but OCD is no different. I mean, OCD is a lot harder than you think it is. I underestimated OCD severely. I had no compassion for myself. I called myself a bitch. I called myself, you should know, get better than this. You're weak. You're a loser. And then I would see these other posts where people talking about it, and I would get mad at them because I didn't understand it. And I had so many working factors of this, but I couldn't have got to where I am today if I didn't accept that OCD is very hard. It's misunderstood, and it's going to be a lot harder than I think. And, when you're breaking down like HIV, if you go, oh, having HIV won't be that big of a deal, that's not going to work. It is a big deal in some sense. Parkinson's, that ain't going to work. Well, other people have Parkinson's and they live their life. Yeah, but you're petrified of having it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think. Please reach out if you need help. Phil@OCDrecovery.com. Do not suffer in silence. We're here to help you, whether it's one-to-one coaching, whether it's the webinar services. And remember, the WhatsApp group, when you get access to, is a terrific resource. I put numerous articles in there a week. We put so many voice notes, 30, 40-minute voice notes, Sans videos, Moments videos that do not go. These are things that don't go on the YouTube and they don't go on the Instagram. It's a value that we have for the WhatsApp services, and we think it's a great thing. So thank you again, Phil@OCDrecovery.com, and we hope to hear from you soon. Have a good one, everyone.